Chapter 1. Everything felt utterly absurd. The face of my ex-boyfriend, Ethan Taylor, suddenly appeared before my eyes. I wanted to run, but it was too late. All I could do was force a smile. "Hi, long time no see." I knew Emily Taylor was an obstetrician. Because of that, I deliberately avoided the hospital where she worked, just to prevent her from discovering anything. But fate had its own way of teaching me a lesson, reminding me that man proposes, God disposes. What was even more puzzling was why Ethan Taylor showed up at the obstetrics department. I didn't believe he was just there to visit his sister. "Yeah, long time no see." Ethan Taylor responded calmly, his gaze dropped to my belly, and his handsome face displayed a complex expression. "Emily, have you checked thoroughly?" 3 months, Emily Taylor replied quickly, her eyes fixed on her brother without blinking. "How long has it been since you two broke up?" "What a coincidence, also 3 months." He smirked slightly, a faint, unreadable smile flickering in his eyes. I scoffed, "So what? It has nothing to do with you. That sharp tongue of yours." His eyes glinted as he motioned for me to follow him. "Can we talk for a bit?" "Not necessary." I was naturally sharp-tongued, with no particular skill other than saying harsh things. He looked at me, his brows furrowed slightly. In his striking eyes, there seemed to be a hint of anger, but he ultimately stayed silent, following me wherever I went. Finally, I snapped, "What exactly do you want? You should have explained it to me." Ethan Taylor was pensive, his eyebrows furrowed, his eyes fixed intently on me. His face, already somber, was paired with long, sharp eyes that, when staring at someone, always gave the impression of seeing right through them. But undeniably, he was a very handsome man. I swallowed hard, lifted my chin, and replied, "Ethan Taylor, we've already broken up. What more do I need to explain?" "The child." He spoke curtly, and I scoffed. "You're not the only man in the world." Before I could finish, a blaze of fury ignited in his eyes. I pretended not to notice and continued, "Breaking up with you was fun. I partied at bars, let loose, and eventually, this child came along. I didn't even hesitate to tarnish my own reputation. What more could he want?" Seeing him still frowning and staring at me, I chuckled. "Ethan Taylor, I never thought you'd have a thing for fatherhood. If looks could kill, I'd have dropped dead on the spot." Furious, he stormed out of the hospital. I stood in the wind, watching his tall figure grow smaller and smaller in the distance. Finally, tears streamed uncontrollably down my cheeks. It wasn't because he didn't love me, nor because I didn't love him. But when two people are overly sensitive, proud, and hot-tempered, being together is like lightning striking a blazing fire. Every argument could tear the roof off. After 3 years of love, we loved each other passionately, but every fight was earth-shattering. Too many arguments eventually wear people down, so I suggested we break up. Perhaps he was tired too, as he didn't resist. Since neither of us had learned how to love the other better, breaking up was also a way of loving him. I just didn't expect an accident to happen afterward. I stood frozen for a moment before stepping out of the hospital. This morning, severe nausea had left me barely eating anything. Adding to that, the unexpected encounter with Ethan Taylor made my head spin. I planned to hail a taxi to take care of urgent matters first, but just as I raised my hand, a black G-Wagon slid to a stop right in front of me. The passenger window rolled down, revealing Ethan Taylor's face, a mix of love and hatred. "Get in." He curled his lips into a smirk, his tone anything but friendly. I scoffed coldly. "No need." No sooner had the words left my mouth than I noticed veins bulging on his forehead. I sneered, turning away, to flag down another taxi. If I weren't so exhausted from the morning sickness, I would have driven myself. But before I could wave for a cab, I heard the G-Wagon door slam shut with a loud bang, making the entire car shudder. TCH, that temper of his. As I stood there wondering how I managed to survive 3 years by his side, Ethan Taylor emerged from the vehicle. His handsome face was dark and stormy as he stormed toward me at an alarming speed. "Damn it. 3 years of arguing experience instantly kicked in. Before my brain could issue a command, my legs had already started running. Mia Young. His furious shout echoed behind me as I dashed through the wind. With his current mood, if he caught me, there'd undoubtedly be another epic argument waiting for us. But as I ran, I suddenly realized there were no more sounds coming from behind. Suspicious, I stopped and turned around, only to see the massive G-Wagon crawling behind me at a snail's pace, like a lumbering tortoise. Me. This cunning man. The car window was down, his hand on the steering wheel, and he smirked. Mia Young, are you going to keep running? If I kept running, I'd truly have lost my mind. Fuming, I opened the car door. He immediately stopped the car, and before I could even sit down, I heard the sound of the door locking, as if he was afraid I'd bolt again. Then he started scolding me relentlessly. Are you stupid? Running like that while pregnant, do you have a death wish? The car wasn't even fully stopped, and you opened the door. Are you trying to make the Grim Reaper's job busier by adding another soul to his list? Can't you be a little more careful? His thin lips kept moving, spouting nothing but scolding words at me. Furious, I kicked the car door twice. Let me out. The veins on his forehead bulged, and his eyes burned with anger, as if he wanted to strangle me on the spot. Then he actually leaned over. I felt a bit guilty, but on second thought, I wanted to retort. However, before I could say anything, he leaned down and buckled my seatbelt. The click sound of the belt locking echoed, but he still didn't straighten back up. I glared at him. Don't think you can bribe me. Mia Young, even if you were dying, your mouth would still stay stubborn. His face was clearly furious, but his eyes were filled with helplessness. Talking to me nicely, is it really so life-threatening for you? This tactic of scolding and then softening had me defeated. I let out a cold laugh. Who was the one yelling at me the moment I got in the car? Ethan Taylor, does spewing venom from your mouth help you eat better? Over the past 3 years, he and I had argued no less than 1,000 times, if not a full 1,000, then at least 800. Our friends were in awe of both of us. I also admire the endurance of both of us. Clearly, we couldn't stand each other, yet why couldn't we break up decisively after 3 years? But after trying for 3 years, why couldn't we continue that day? Perhaps because he's a doctor, with his responsibilities, he always prioritized work above all else. And so, he neglected the feelings between us. I suggested breaking up and quickly moved out of the house. He didn't say anything either. Perhaps letting go is for the best. It's better than continuing to live in mutual resentment. Chapter 2. On the way home, none of us said a word. The atmosphere felt frozen. Both of us were sulking, neither willing to speak first. Arriving at the front door, I stepped out of the car with a cold expression, silently counting down in my heart. I gave him one last minute. If he didn't chase after me, then this relationship would be severed for good. Mia Young. I raised an eyebrow smugly, making a mental V for victory. Turning back, I kept a straight face. If you have something to say it quickly. You haven't eaten, have you? No, you want to cook for me? Before I could finish, Ethan Taylor nodded and drove off. I stood there, stunned. What does this even mean? Ethan Taylor, are you messing with me? Entering the house, I sprawled out on the sofa, staring blankly at the ceiling, my hand gently brushing my stomach, the place nurturing a tiny life. It was a feeling hard to describe. My stomach growled loudly. Hunger struck, reminding me that I needed to eat. I opened the food delivery app, scrolling through countless restaurants offering delicious dishes, yet none of them appealed to me. An inexplicable irritation stirred inside me. After endless scrolling, I finally found something I wanted to eat, but it didn't accept vouchers, nor did it have any discounts. How frustrating. All I wanted was a meal. Why did it have to be so complicated? Back in the day, I never had to worry about this. After work, there was always a warm meal waiting for me at home, and Ethan Taylor only ever cooked dishes I loved. It seemed like he had been this way ever since we first got together. He spoiled my taste buds and won over my heart through my stomach. Now, less than 3 months after our breakup, I've already lost nearly 5 kilograms. Can I not live without him? The thought made me want to cry. Ding dong. The sound of the door unlocking startled me. I sat up abruptly, shocked to see Ethan Taylor walking in with an armful of bags. His face remained calm as he used his heel to close the door behind him. Why is the door code still my birthday? I paused for 2 seconds before retorting. I got used to it and was too lazy to change it. But I've decided, I'll change it now. Ethan Taylor glanced at me briefly, then headed straight to the kitchen. Don't bother. Come help me instead. I pouted. You've always managed on your own. You're doing just fine without me now, aren't you? 3 months of separation, and he hadn't once reached out to me. If we hadn't bumped into each other at the hospital today, he probably would have forgotten about me completely. Ethan Taylor tilted his head to look at me, one hand casually tucked into the pocket of his slacks, his deep eyes fixed on me. Mia Young, I've never been able to live without you. Is that clear enough? I tried to keep a calm expression, suppressing the urge to let a smile tug at the corners of my lips, pretending to be reluctant as I rolled up my sleeves and stepped into the kitchen. Tell me, what do you need help with? Sit down first. Ethan Taylor pulled out a chair for me to sit, then from the grocery bag, he took out a box of peach blossom cakes, my favorite. Have a bite first. It was my favorite peach blossom cake. I happily accepted it. This must have been hard to find, right? Stop sitting there grinning like an idiot. This is food, not something to stare at. Ethan Taylor teased me while unloading groceries from the bag and neatly organizing them in the refrigerator, leaving out only the necessary ingredients. The 2-door fridge was quickly filled by him, mostly with fruits. Do you even know how to eat them properly? I jokingly replied, with my mouth, of course. Ethan Taylor's lips twitched slightly. Very good. I'll text you reminders to eat fruit on time, so you better take me off your block list first. I didn't. Suddenly, I remembered. The day we broke up, I was so angry I almost smashed my phone and added all his contacts to my block list. I hadn't removed him since. After that, Ethan Taylor began cooking in earnest. I rested my chin on my hand, quietly watching him. The warm yellow light illuminated his handsome face, softening his features and making the atmosphere around him feel gentler. This was the first time I'd watched Ethan Taylor cook so attentively. People only realize the value of things after they've lost them. Lost? That thought made me feel as though, even with him standing right in front of me, an entire galaxy stretched between us, and we were no longer each other's one and only. A few days ago, I deliberately passed by the hospital and happened to see him laughing and chatting with another woman. If it weren't for my pregnancy, perhaps Ethan Taylor and I wouldn't have any connection left. Now, he was only here out of responsibility, wasn't he? A heaviness settled in my chest, a mix of resentment, sadness, and heartbreak, making my eyes sting. When Ethan Taylor glanced over, I quickly lowered my head in panic. A single hot tear fell onto the peach blossom cake. I'm fine. Afraid he might notice I was crying, I immediately stood up and ran outside. An hour later, Ethan Taylor had prepared a table full of food. Just the smell alone made my stomach growl with hunger. He handed me a pair of chopsticks. Eat. Okay, thank you. I'll wash the dishes later. He simply replied, okay, but in the end, he was the one who washed the dishes. He even helped tidy up the house and took care of the potted plants on the balcony. I watched him bustling about and was just about to ask when he planned to leave when. Tap, tap, tap. Large raindrops, like peas, pelted against the glass window. Ethan Taylor let out a sigh of relief and quickly closed the glass door. The weather forecast says there will be a big storm tonight. Seems like they got it right. Looks like I won't be going anywhere tonight. He spoke as if everything was perfectly natural, settling down on the sofa to watch the news, just like he used to. I glanced at him. "Dr. Taylor, I remember you drove here. In the middle of a stormy night like this, it's hard to see the road clearly. Accidents could happen. Would you really be so heartless as to let the baby in your belly lose its father?" Ethan Taylor looked at me with a hint of reproach in his eyes. I turned my head away. "This baby isn't yours." Ethan Taylor stood up, sat down beside me, and looked straight into my eyes. "Pregnant women can do non-invasive prenatal DNA tests as early as 5 weeks, with an accuracy of up to 99.9999%. Do you want to try?" And just like that, I lost. I decided not to respond, yawned, and headed straight to the bedroom. "Fine, you can sleep on the couch. Consider it payment for tonight's dinner." Ethan Taylor didn't reply, only the sound of the TV gradually faded in the background. We had broken up more than 3 months ago, yet now it felt like nothing had changed at all. I lay on the bed, closed my eyes, and tried to force myself to fall asleep quickly. But I kept tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Maybe it was because I had eaten too much earlier, now my stomach felt really uncomfortable. On top of that, I've always had stomach issues and poor digestion. It was Ethan Taylor who had diagnosed me with that condition. I remembered the last time he gave me stomach medicine. I think I left it in the bedside drawer. Fumbling in the dark, I sat up, but I accidentally bumped into the edge of the table. The pain was sharp enough to make me take a deep breath. Crash! The sound of a glass shattering echoed as it hit the floor. Mia Young. In just a split second, Ethan Taylor pushed the door open and flipped on the light switch. The sudden brightness made me squint as his tall figure approached, lifting me gently and placing me on the bed. "I've told you so many times, if you wake up in the middle of the night, turn on the night light. Now tell me, what do you want this time?" I turned my face away, quietly pulling the blanket to cover the hand pressing against my stomach, and responded indifferently, "I'm fine, go back to sleep." Ethan Taylor frowned, cleaned up the shattered pieces on the floor, and left the room. But not long after, he knocked on my door again. "Mia Young, it's only been 10 minutes, I doubt you've fallen asleep." "I'm coming in." He entered, holding a bowl of hot soup in his hands. "Warm soup for your stomach. Drink it before you sleep." I was surprised. Ethan Taylor had noticed I was suffering from stomach pain. The sharp pain in my abdomen reminded me not to refuse the warm soup, so I took it. "Thank you." Seeing me hold the bowl with both hands, sipping slowly, Ethan Taylor's gaze softened. He gently reached out to pat my head. "Good girl. Once you finish the soup, your stomach won't hurt anymore. Don't always rely on medicine, especially now that you're pregnant." Chapter 3. Ethan Taylor's voice was gentle and slow, but his gaze seemed intent on engraving my image deep into his heart. His pupils reflected my silhouette clearly, without any hint of concealment. "Do you understand, little Mia?" His deep, magnetic voice was like the sound of a cello resonating, soft yet captivating, carrying the tender intimacy of a lover. Every time he called me little Mia, he would kiss me. Thinking of this, I froze, staring into those profound eyes, the sharp contours of his face, and his thin lips pressed lightly together. My heart raced wildly. In just a moment, I felt as if my heart was beating at 200 beats per minute, and my cheeks burned hot. Just as Ethan Taylor was about to lean down to kiss me, a shred of remaining rationality made me push him out the door. Bang! I slammed the door shut. Both my hands clutched my chest, trying to calm my heart that was pounding as if it might burst out of my ribcage. Oh my God, why do I still feel this fluttering for Ethan Taylor? No, no. I must stay firm in my resolve. He can leave, but the child must stay. We've already broken up. Early the next morning, warm sunlight filtered through the gap in the curtains, illuminating the room. I stretched lazily. Remembering that Ethan Taylor was still at home, I instantly became alert. Before stepping out of the room, I went into the bathroom to tidy myself up meticulously. I didn't want to appear sloppy in front of Ethan Taylor, even though he had seen me like that countless times before. But now, we've broken up, and our relationship is no longer the same. I needed to show him that after the breakup, I've returned to being a refined woman, making him regret losing me. I even turned on the radio and selected an English channel. Looking at the still closed living room door, I sipped my milk with smug satisfaction, feeling as if my tail was wagging high in the air. Ethan Taylor, you must have heard it by now. See how much I've leveled up. Without you, I'm becoming more and more accomplished. But I stood by the door, waiting and waiting, yet Ethan Taylor didn't come out. When I opened his door, oh my God, he had disappeared at some point. I felt like I had just made a fool of myself. I was furious, but more than that, there was an overwhelming sense of emptiness. He left without saying a word. In the past, even if I was asleep, Ethan Taylor would always tell me before leaving. Wait a minute. We've broken up, we've already broken up. Ding dong. The doorbell rang, and I sluggishly walked over to open the door. Standing at the door was Emily Taylor, holding a breakfast box in her hands. She smiled and greeted me, "Good morning, sister-in-law. My brother asked me to bring you breakfast. He said you need to eat well and stay nourished." I was stunned. Ethan Taylor had left early in the morning, yet he asked Emily to bring me breakfast? What does this mean? Emily Taylor walked straight into the house. His department has been really busy lately, but he told me he'd come home for dinner with you tonight. I was full of questions. Why does Ethan Taylor still have Emily calling me sister-in-law? Being called sister-in-law by Emily Taylor again and again made me feel a little awkward. After thinking it over, I decided to explain seriously to her, "Your brother and I have truly broken up." Emily Taylor was surprised. "Did you two have a fight? Is there some misunderstanding between you two? My brother really likes you. His room is filled with your photos, and even his phone wallpaper is of you. Basically, I see pictures of you at home every single day." Looking into Emily's sincere eyes, I didn't know whether to feel happy or sad. I could only force a smile and sigh, "There's no misunderstanding. He's just too busy, and most importantly, our personalities don't match. We're both stubborn. Every time we argue, neither of us is willing to back down. We end up hurting each other. Living together wasn't happy, so breaking up might be the best outcome. And in the past 3 months, he hasn't once reached out to me. Isn't that essentially agreeing to the breakup?" Emily shook her head repeatedly, looking very anxious, as if she didn't know how to explain things to me. She sighed, "Sister-in-law, don't misunderstand my brother. 3 months ago, he had to perform multiple surgeries back-to-back and even fell ill. It's only recently that he's recovered. The day you went to the obstetrics department, he was waiting for me. I was planning to take him for a health check." Hearing Emily's words, I was momentarily stunned. Ethan Taylor went to the hospital for a health check? Did I misunderstand him? Was it not that he was ignoring me, but that he was too busy and unwell? Those days, my brother was really exhausted, sister-in-law. Please don't fight with him anymore. Seeing that I didn't want to say anything further, Emily had no choice but to send me a link on Weibo. "Sister-in-law, I think you'll find the answers you're looking for there." At that moment, Emily's phone rang. It was the hospital calling her in for work. "Sister-in-law, I once watched a movie with a really great line, between husband and wife, it's not just about love, but also about mutual understanding and tolerance. Sometimes, taking a step back doesn't mean weakness, it's a testament to love." Oh, my brother isn't good at expressing his feelings, so sister-in-law, he's all yours. I have to head to work now. Emily's words left me deep in thought. When I opened the link Emily sent me, the posts I saw there surprised me. Ethan Taylor and little Mia, "Today, I prepared heart-shaped candles to confess to the person I like, but the janitor took them all away. In the end, I had to muster the courage to confess anyway, since she showed up. Luckily, she said yes." Ethan Taylor and little Mia, "Today, I took Mia to watch a movie. The guys in my dorm said watching a sci-fi movie would earn me points. They also said men need to act aloof to attract more girls. But honestly, I don't even like sci-fi. I spent the whole time just looking at little Mia. Ethan Taylor and little Mia, I want to marry little Mia. Reading Ethan Taylor's posts, I lay on the sofa, crying and laughing at the same time. This silly guy, how can he be so adorable? Actually, Ethan Taylor and I have known each other since college. He studied at the medical school across from mine, while I was majoring in accounting. The first time I met Ethan Taylor was when I saw him working a part-time job outside. Out of curiosity, I asked about him and found out he was a medical student. His family wasn't wealthy, but he was hardworking, and handsome, too. I secretly went to his school to sit in on one of his lectures, but I got caught by the professor. Just when I wanted to die of embarrassment, Ethan Taylor stood up and said I was his girlfriend. And after that, his school forum exploded. Even the professor was surprised. After all, someone like Ethan Taylor, the flower on the high mountain type, publicly announced me as his girlfriend. After that, I went along and confessed my feelings to him. And he agreed. Just like that, we were together. Later, I asked him, Ethan Taylor, did you like me for a long time? He said, what do you think? Coming to the milk tea shop every day, how could I not remember you? Thinking back now, that time was truly sweet. Everything only changed when he became a medical intern. While I was engrossed in reading Ethan Taylor's heartfelt words, he had already returned. Chapter 4. I quickly turned around, my back facing Ethan Taylor. Right now, I just wanted to finish reading all his posts to gain a deeper understanding of him. Ethan Taylor bought another large bag of groceries. I'm cooking for you again tonight. He said it so naturally, even with a hint of pride. You're not planning to refuse me, are you? Men who cook as well as I do aren't common, you know. Wait a minute. This doesn't quite match the image he portrays on Weibo, does it? I sat up, trying to keep a serious face to suppress my laughter. The kitchen is yours, go ahead. Ethan Taylor frowned slightly but didn't say anything. He quietly went into the kitchen. I peeked over, intending to say something, but as if sensing my gaze, Ethan Taylor looked up. The moment our eyes met, I quickly lowered my head, unsure of how to start speaking. During dinner, I kept sneaking glances at Ethan Taylor. Mia Young, if you have something to say, just say it. Finally, Ethan Taylor couldn't hold back anymore. He slammed his chopsticks down, but seeing me startled, he quickly placed them down gently again. He awkwardly said, that was just a slip of the hand. I cleared my throat. The account Ethan Taylor and little Mia, that's yours. Isn't it? Ethan Taylor's pupils contracted, and his handsome face turned bright red, like a boiled shrimp. You wrote all of this, didn't you? I held up my phone to show him. Ethan Taylor, I didn't expect you to be so different in real life compared to online. Is there anything else you're hiding from me? Seemingly shaken by my words, Ethan Taylor looked at me, his long lashes trembling slightly, and a gentle light appeared in his eyes. Ever since I became the head of the department at the hospital, my work has gotten busier. I often have to leave early and come home late, so sometimes I neglect you. At first, I thought you didn't seem to mind, so I didn't pay much attention either. He paused for a moment. Tell me, if I turn back now, would it still be in time? I pressed my lips together and asked seriously, is it because I'm pregnant that you're now? It's not. Ethan Taylor interrupted me decisively, his eyes sincere and more serious than ever. With or without a child, I'll still be the same. His honest gaze held no trace of deceit, making my heart flutter. For a moment, I truly wanted to nod. But then, I was afraid of repeating past mistakes. After all, his work is still very demanding. He's a determined person, I've always known that. Our personalities aren't easy to change either. I'm afraid. I hesitated for a long moment. It depends on your behavior, but you're not staying here tonight either. Ethan Taylor didn't hesitate at all right. That morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, I heard noises outside. Looking through the peephole, I saw the new neighbors who had just moved in across the hall. Among their belongings was a crystal desk lamp that looked very familiar, identical to the one I had given Ethan Taylor. But I didn't think much of it and headed to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. Ding dong. Who could be visiting so early? When I opened the door, standing right in front of me was none other than Ethan Taylor. He had brought breakfast for me. From now on, I'll bring you breakfast every morning. You live in the Northern District. It's time-consuming to go back and forth. Don't you need to be at the hospital? I recalled what Emily Taylor had told me about how he had been busy with surgeries recently and was now recovering. That's why I moved into the apartment across from you. Ethan Taylor tilted his head slightly. I looked up and noticed the door to the opposite apartment was wide open. On the wall, there was an art photo of me prominently displayed, leaving me speechless. What kind of trick is this? Ethan Taylor cleared his throat awkwardly to mask his embarrassment. This way, every time I come and go, I can see you. He paused for a moment before continuing, and it's not like I'm asking to move in with you. It's convenient and doesn't bother anyone. Honestly, my heart fluttered quite a bit at that moment. But I couldn't let him get too smug. Oh, so you think you deserve a compliment for being clever, huh? Alright, eat your breakfast. I need to get to the hospital now. Ethan Taylor glanced at his watch, then hurried home to grab his belongings and head to work. But he didn't forget to wave goodbye to me. I waved back, watching his figure as he stepped into the elevator. At first, I planned to ask him why he hadn't contacted me for the past 3 months. Was it because he was too busy with surgeries? But on second thought, I figured I could save that question for another time. After informing my parents about my pregnancy and asking for their permission to handle everything with Ethan Taylor myself, I felt much more at ease. The warm, radiant sunlight bathed me, filling me with hope for the future, eager to see how Ethan Taylor would respond. In the days that followed, aside from his working hours, Ethan Taylor was almost always by my side, taking care of me. Especially during the period when I had severe morning sickness, throwing up everything I ate, and losing my appetite entirely. To ensure I got enough nutrients, Ethan Taylor bought a pile of cookbooks to study, constantly switching up recipes to prepare delicious meals for me. As a result, my weight skyrocketed by 10 kilograms. I couldn't believe my eyes when I looked at the scale. Ethan Taylor. What's wrong? Is it not tasty? Ethan Taylor hurried out of the kitchen, still holding a spoon in his hand. If it's not good, spit it out, and I'll cook something else for you. I took a bite of chicken, pouting. I've gained 10 kilograms already, what should I do? My silly little Mia, it's not just your weight, it includes our baby's weight too. That's the baby's weight, Ethan Taylor said seriously. The baby isn't even born yet, and it's already 10 kilograms? How about I make salt-roasted chicken for you? I want it right now. He truly knows exactly what I like. Alright. Watching Ethan Taylor busy in the kitchen, I lay comfortably on the sofa, gently stroking my growing baby. Bump. Baby, it's almost your mom and dad's anniversary. In the past years, your dad has always been so casual about it. Do you think he'll change this time? On the day of the anniversary, I had been waiting at home since early morning, checking my phone countless times, yet there was no message from Ethan Taylor. I was truly disappointed. No matter how busy he was, he should at least send me a message. But recalling what Emily Taylor had said, maybe his work was overwhelming. Should I let it slide this time? BZZ BZZ. It was a message from Emily Taylor. She told me to go to the house across the street to help Ethan Taylor receive a fax. How infuriating. Ethan Taylor could call Emily Taylor, so why couldn't he call me directly? He remembered the fax, but forgot what today is. Fuming, I walked over and pressed the doorbell with force. Ethan Taylor, I'm not your assistant. Do your own work. But when I pushed the door open, I was stunned by the scene in front of me. In the middle of the room were candles arranged in the shape of a heart, rose petals scattered across the floor, and heart-shaped red balloons floating everywhere. Next to it was a romantic dining table illuminated by candlelight. Soft, melodious piano music filled the air. I followed the sound of the music and was captivated by Ethan Taylor sitting at the piano, dressed in an elegant suit. He turned to look at me, the moonlight streaming through the window, highlighting his face and making it glow. He was playing Love Serenade. My heart was swept away by the melody, and my eyes welled up with tears. So he remembered. He knew how much I loved this piece. I had asked him many times to play it for me before, but he was always too busy. And today, he had prepared such a huge surprise for me. When the music ended, Ethan Taylor asked me to close my eyes. Close your eyes and count down from 3. I eagerly closed my eyes, counting down in my head, and could hear his footsteps approaching, stopping right in front of me. When I opened my eyes, there was a bouquet of blue baby's breath flowers in front of me. Baby's breath flowers. A long time ago, I told him that I didn't like roses, but I loved baby's breath flowers instead. Turns out, he always remembered what I said. I happily accepted the bouquet. They smell so nice. Smell nice? I can only catch a faint scent. Ethan Taylor seemed puzzled. Try smelling them again. As he leaned down, I stood on tiptoe and gave him a light kiss on the cheek, a small reward for his thoughtfulness tonight. He didn't let me down. Ethan Taylor's eyes widened slightly, probably not expecting me to take the initiative like that. So, did I meet the standard? He asked. Tell me, which anniversary is this? The 4th one. You've passed. Chapter 5. This memory is truly special, making me incredibly happy. A significant day like this only holds meaning when both sides cherish and dedicate their hearts to each other. In the past, I often looked forward to moments when we could be together. I didn't expect Ethan Taylor to prepare elaborate surprises like this time, just his sincerity toward me was enough. But ever since he became a medical intern, he always mentioned how busy work was. Later, as he gradually advanced in his career, his workload only increased. Catching Ethan Taylor's slightly trembling gaze, I laughed. What's wrong? Are you scared of me? Ethan Taylor frowned. Did I forget something? There's nothing, really. Today is just an ordinary day. You should go home and rest early. You have 2 surgeries tomorrow, so take care of your health and get some rest. You knew? Have you been secretly following me? He raised an eyebrow. Not at all, Emily told me. Emily also mentioned that over the past 3 months, you've had a lot of surgeries. The last time we met at the hospital was because she forced you to get a health check. Is that true? Are you okay? What Emily Taylor said the other day still lingers vividly in my mind. Why does she tell you everything? Ethan Taylor furrowed his brows, taking a deep breath. Actually, during that time, I had to perform surgeries back to back. There were days when I couldn't go home, eating and sleeping at the hospital. Just as I'd catch a moment of rest, another operation would come up, and sometimes I'd even get called in the middle of the night. Since becoming the department head, Ethan Taylor's workload had only grown heavier. My body's been a bit worn out, so the hospital mandated that I take some time off. But these past few days, they've been short-staffed and called me back to work. He admitted this frankly, a stark contrast to the Ethan Taylor of the past, who constantly teased and made sarcastic remarks. I pushed him toward the door. All right, you don't need to wake up early to make breakfast for me anymore. Tomorrow, Emily has the day off, she'll bring breakfast over, and we'll go shopping together afterward. Watching him walk away, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of sadness. Had I been too unreasonable with him? In the past, I didn't understand and even got angry at him. The next day, Emily Taylor suddenly invited me out for a walk. She said she wanted to get to know her sister-in-law better. Now that I'm 6 months pregnant, I need to stay active to ensure a smooth delivery. So, I accepted Emily Taylor's invitation. Shopping is one of the best ways to stay active. Sis-in-law, do you think it's better to give gifts based on the recipient's preferences, or your own? Emily Taylor asked. I held on to Emily Taylor's arm, using my other hand to support my belly. That depends on the situation. If you know the person's preferences, you should choose something they like. If you don't, then go with what feels right to you. The most important thing about giving gifts is the thought behind it. Emily Taylor nodded thoughtfully after hearing it. While I was choosing clothes for the baby, I had no idea who she was texting. It looked quite mysterious. Sister-in-law, shall we go look at handbags? Emily Taylor glanced at her phone before confirming where she wanted to go. I immediately agreed. I absolutely love handbags, because they always have the magical ability to heal all troubles. We browsed for a long time, but neither of us bought anything. The bag I liked was too expensive. I'd have to save up for some time to afford it, so I decided to hold off for now. I noticed Emily Taylor taking a picture of the bag I liked. I didn't expect our tastes to be so similar. How about we save up together and buy it jointly? Emily Taylor smiled mysteriously. Sister-in-law, I think you'll have this bag very soon. Time flew by, and 2 months had passed. Tomorrow is my birthday. I glanced at Ethan Taylor, who was sitting next to me peeling an apple. My belly is getting bigger and bigger now. It's so hard to move around, I just want to lie down all day. Ethan Taylor looked at me with a pained expression. I'm sorry, let's just have this one child. I waved my hand. Help me back to the room. I plan to go to bed early tonight. It's not even 10 o'clock yet. Are you sure you want to sleep this early? Ethan Taylor seemed surprised, but still helped me back to the room and carefully tucked me in. Go to sleep, I'll tell a story to the baby. Ever since I was over 4 months pregnant, Ethan Taylor had bought a whole pile of fairy tale books, but I couldn't tell if he was lulling me to sleep or the baby. Gradually, I got used to having him by my side every night before I went to sleep. Dr. Taylor, what story are you planning to tell today? No story tonight. I closed my eyes for a moment, then immediately opened them to look at him with curiosity. Catching his deep gaze, my heart skipped a beat, and I quickly turned away. Why didn't you tell me? There's a foreign movie that not many people know about. I've wanted to watch it for a long time, but you couldn't find it, Ethan Taylor said as he stood up to prepare the projector. I was instantly alert, my eyes following Ethan Taylor's every move. Don't tell me you actually found that movie. He nodded. I asked some friends to help. Later, I found out that Ethan Taylor had searched through countless forums, websites, and even reached out to a few people in the industry to track down this movie. When the movie started, Ethan Taylor initially sat on the edge of the bed, but then slowly moved closer to me. Let me be your pillow. Well, thank you, Dr. Taylor. I don't want just a simple thank you. I shot him a glance. He really knew how to push his luck. Ethan Taylor put on an innocent face. I just want to touch the baby. Fine, go ahead. I started getting absorbed into the movie, placing his hand on my pregnant belly. Take your time to feel it, don't disturb me while I'm watching. Through the thin fabric of my shirt, I could almost feel the warmth radiating from his palm. This made it impossible for me to focus on the movie. Especially when Ethan Taylor, like a curious child, gently touched my belly and then pressed his face against it. Hey baby, are you behaving well inside mommy's tummy? You better be good, no mischief. When you're born, Daddy will take you to play soccer. Let's go to bed after the movie, okay? I continued watching, thinking we'd go to sleep once it ended. Honestly, just having him by my side like this was enough. But unexpectedly, exactly at midnight, the alarm suddenly went off. I turned to Ethan Taylor in confusion, only to see him standing by the bed, holding a large square box. He said, Mia, happy birthday. I stared at the box he was holding. It was the puzzle set I loved the most. My eyes welled up with tears. So you still remembered. Back then, couple puzzle games were very popular, symbolizing piecing together a future together. I once mentioned it to Ethan Taylor. At that time, he was reading a book and only responded with a casual, Do you like it? I love it, I really do. I choked up and wiped away my tears. Ethan Taylor quickly set the puzzle pieces down and gently wiped my tears. Silly, don't cry anymore, or our child will think Dad is bullying Mom. Looking at the handsome face in front of me, my tear-filled eyes couldn't help but light up with a laugh. Compared to before, he has truly changed so much now. Let's continue with the puzzle. No, letting you stay up until midnight is already my limit. Ethan Taylor shook his head, gently helping me lie down. Today is your birthday, so I made an exception, you know? Tomorrow, when I get back from work, we'll finish the puzzle together. I pouted a little, but obediently agreed. As he was about to leave, I couldn't help myself and tugged lightly on his shirt, feeling a bit shy. There's still a set of your pajamas in the wardrobe. Ethan Taylor froze for a moment. All right, I'll take them back. This guy, does he really not get it, or is he just pretending? Unexpectedly, he stopped, picked up the pajamas, and walked over, his eyes lighting up with surprise. Mia, are you saying you want me to stay? I pretended to put on a stern face. If you don't want to stay, then, goodbye. I'll stay, of course, I'll stay. Ethan Taylor even changed into his pajamas right in front of me. His body is no joke, truly the type that looks slim in clothes, but muscular without them. Caught staring, Ethan Taylor blushed, embarrassed. Are you planning to keep staring at me like this forever? Just sleep. I immediately closed my eyes. Right after that, I felt my lips grow warm. It was Ethan Taylor, taking the chance to attack me. I quickly opened my eyes, and surprise. Another surprise was waiting for me. Chapter 6. It turns out Ethan Taylor had prepared a second birthday gift for me. An idea flashed through my mind, and I eagerly asked, don't tell me it's the limited edition bag I've been wanting so much. Ethan Taylor looked a bit shy as he opened the box. He gently pinched my cheek and said, you guessed it right. Emily must have accidentally spilled the beans, didn't she? I hugged my favorite bag in sheer joy. Ethan Taylor, this bag is absolutely gorgeous. I can pair it with so many outfits, really. I love it, thank you so much. Ethan Taylor finally lay down beside me, gently pulling me into his arms. Even though I couldn't see his sparkling eyes, I could feel his warm breath near my ear and his strong, steady heartbeat. The birthday surprises end here. Now, it's time to sleep. His voice at that moment sounded just like he was soothing a child. I could clearly feel that he had entered dad mode. Ethan Taylor, thank you. Leaning against him, I sincerely said, thank you for making my birthday so special and joyful. Hearing my praise, Ethan Taylor's tone became slightly smug. Next year's birthday, I'll make it twice as surprising. Really? Of course. Then for your birthday next year, I'll have to prepare even more carefully, more thoroughly than you. I'll still outdo you. Then let's compete to see who's better. Alright, let's compete every year. Our conversation resembled that of children arguing, though a bit naive. We genuinely wished for each other's happiness and joy. The weekend arrived again. This was the day of my final prenatal checkup before preparing for childbirth. After this checkup, I would need to get ready for the phase of welcoming the baby into the world. As I stepped out the door, Ethan Taylor was already waiting there, taking the items from my hands and carefully supporting me. Let's go, I'll accompany you to the checkup. In the past, Ethan Taylor had been too busy or unable to take time off, so Emily Taylor had always been the one accompanying me. I raised an eyebrow. Are you sure? Don't leave halfway to rush back to the clinic again. Absolutely not, I really have the day off today. Then if the doctor asks who you are to me, what will you say? You didn't come the previous times. I was a bit sulky about this. I'm your husband. Unexpectedly, as he answered, Ethan Taylor took my hand. Our fingers intertwined tightly. I burst out laughing at Ethan Taylor's response, trying to pull my hand away, but he held on even tighter. Hey, since when did you become my husband? Very soon. Ethan Taylor replied with a serious tone, not joking at all. I didn't ask further, just quietly waiting to see what he would do next. When I went for a prenatal checkup, Ethan Taylor was always by my side, asking numerous professional questions. Though I didn't understand much, I noticed the female doctor nodding in approval at him before turning to me with a smile. "So you're Dr. Taylor's wife. He's a young and talented doctor at our hospital." I didn't expect him to settle down so soon. I was surprised, this guy dared to tell everyone so quickly. "That's right. When you meet someone you like, you can't help but want to marry them as soon as possible," Ethan Taylor responded, naturally helping me up. He whispered in my ear, "Let's go. I've already made a reservation at your favorite restaurant." My eyes lit up. Since eating Ethan Taylor's cooking, few restaurants had managed to satisfy me. That restaurant requires reservations months in advance. That's why I booked it a long time ago. Ethan Taylor politely pulled out a chair for me to sit down. "Take your time looking at the menu. I'll just step into the restroom for a moment." I nodded, glancing around. The restaurant was decorated in an elegant and romantic style. But there was a circle of pink balloons around my seat, along with bouquets of baby's breath flowers as a backdrop, making me slightly suspicious. Could it be? At that moment, the restaurant started playing "This Will Be an Everlasting Love," one of my favorite songs. Ethan Taylor returned from the restroom, leaned close to my ear, and whispered, "Someone's about to propose." My curiosity instantly spiked. Where? Right here." Suddenly, Ethan Taylor knelt on one knee, pulling a diamond ring out of his pocket. His eyes, filled with love, gazed at me. "Mia, will you marry me? I want to be your official husband." My eyes began to well up, tears threatening to fall from the overwhelming emotions, but I couldn't help laughing at his words. "So, you weren't official before?" Ethan Taylor took my hand, holding the ring in his other hand. "Mia Young, will you marry me? Please say yes." His voice grew louder, more determined. The people around us started cheering, "Say yes, say yes." Looking deep into his eyes, my voice choked with emotion as I gently nodded, "Yes, Ethan Taylor, I will marry you." After the successful proposal, Ethan Taylor moved in with me. This time, he confidently brought his suitcase along. "Feels amazing to finally come home." I burst out laughing, unable to hold it in. Why hadn't I noticed his sense of humor before? Clearly, Ethan Taylor had changed a lot, and I absolutely loved this change. "Come here, I don't even know what to prepare for the delivery room." "Don't worry, I've got everything ready for you." Like magic, Ethan Taylor pulled the suitcase in front of me. "Everything you and the baby need is in here." Looking at the tall man standing before me, I suddenly felt he had become incredibly dependable, giving me an overwhelming sense of security. "Ethan, come sit down. Is something wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Ethan Taylor anxiously sat down right away. "I've already informed the security downstairs. This week, no cars will be parked in the driveway so that the ambulance can arrive immediately if your water breaks. It's not that urgent, there's still a week left until the due date." I smiled at him. "I just feel like you've been very thoughtful and attentive lately." Ethan Taylor held my hand, his bright eyes curving into a crescent moon, sincere and full of emotion. "Maybe it's because I almost lost you once, and now I truly understand what it means to cherish. Mia, I'm really grateful that you gave me a chance to make things right. I swear, I'll never let you suffer again." My heart warmed, and my eyes stung slightly. "I trust you." A week later, our child was born safe and healthy. During my postpartum recovery, Ethan Taylor took care of everything. He even told my parents not to travel far to visit, as he could handle it all. I was a bit worried. "Ethan, your work at the hospital is already so busy. Maybe my mom should come to help? I've requested a transfer to another department, it's not as hectic anymore." Ethan Taylor sat beside me, using a warm towel to wipe my face and hands. "Now, nothing is more important to me than you and our child." I was about to say something when the baby next to us started crying loudly. "I just fed the baby. Could it be hunger again?" "No, it's not that. The baby needs a diaper change." Ethan Taylor picked up the baby, skillfully changing the diaper. "Let me teach you how to distinguish the baby's cries. Actually, never mind, you just rest." After soothing the baby to sleep, he sat down beside me. From now on, as long as you and the baby have me by your side, that's all that matters. I smiled softly and nodded, it's a deal. When I left the postnatal care center, both my parents and Ethan Taylor's parents were already waiting at the door to welcome us. This was the first time I met Ethan Taylor's parents. His mother hurried over, taking my hand. This must be Mia, the girl my son always talks about, right? Why is it only now that I get to meet you? What a lovely young lady. Mia, do you know? This boy worked part-time at the bubble tea shop, because he knew you liked bubble tea. Mom. Ethan Taylor took a deep breath. What's the matter? You had the guts to do it but not to admit it? His mother handed me a large red envelope. This is a gift for my grandson. Then she brought out a bracelet. This traditional bracelet is for the daughter-in-law of our family, passed down from generation to generation. Mia, you've been through so much, but I'll make it up to you. Ethan Taylor's mother was so warm and enthusiastic that I couldn't refuse her kindness. Before, I always thought Ethan Taylor came from a modest background, which was why he had to work part-time. Now I understand, it was all just to have a chance to see me. Tonight, I need to interrogate him thoroughly. How wonderful it is to have Ethan Taylor by my side.